it is easy to become desensitized to the litany of outrageous things that Donald Trump has said over the years. But there is a reason that historians are concerned about Mr. Trump's latest stump speech.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within.
Calling your political opponents vermin and the threat from within, we've heard that before. In Mein Kampf, Adolf Hitler referred to Jews as vermin worthy of eradication, and Benito Mussolini would refer to his opponents as parasites and reptiles. So Donald Trump is following in some appalling and notorious footsteps of the most violent, dangerous men of the 20th century, or at least some of them. And Trump didn't end there. Here he was in the very same stump speech, talking about the home invasion and the brutal attack on Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, an attack that was carried out by a right-wing extremist.
Nancy Pelosi is a crazed lunatic. She's a lunatic. She is a crazed lunatic. What the hell was going on with her husband? Let's not ask. Let's not ask. I'll withdraw that statement. By the way, she's got a wall around her house. Obviously, in that case, it didn't work very well.
Nancy Pelosi is a crazed lunatic. That kind of glorification of violence, that call to abandon empathy, to stop seeing our shared humanity, that is no longer just Donald Trump. That rhetoric and that behavior has invaded Trump's entire party. Here was Trump's closest rival for the Republican nomination, Governor Ron DeSantis, in a radio interview today, mocking former Governor Nikki Haley for expressing grief over the killing of George Floyd in 2020.
You know, I remember when the George Floyd riots were happening, I called out the National Guard. I said, I'm standing with police. She was tweeting that it needed to be personal and painful for every single person. And I'm thinking to myself, why does that need to be personal and painful for you or me? We had nothing to do with it. It just shows an example of her adopting this left-wing mindset and accepting the narrative. We need leaders who are going to fight the narrative.
Now, the narrative, to be clear here, according to a jury's verdict, is that George Floyd was brutally murdered as onlookers begged the officer who pressed his knee into Floyd's neck for nearly 9 minutes, as those onlookers begged for them to stop. But according to Governor DeSantis, any pain, any perceived pain for the public murder of an innocent American means you are somehow capitulating to the left wing and its agenda. This is Trump's effect on the Republican Party, a party whose worship of white male machismo appears to be turning into something brutal and cruel, where violence isn't just an accepted outcome in American life, but a necessary outcome. Nowhere was that more on display than in the halls of Congress today. For months now, Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin has been in a feud with the head of the Teamsters Union because the union president had referred to Senator Mullin as a greedy CEO. Today, the head of that union, Sean O'Brien, testified before the Senate Health and Labor Committee, where Senator Mullin revisited Sean O'Brien's invitation to settle their dispute any place, anytime, cowboy.
Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on. Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution, every poll?
No, sit down. Sit down. Okay. You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
You are a United States Senator. Sit down. The wheels are coming off here. A chain reaction started by Donald Trump now has Republicans not just ready to brawl with Democrats, but to brawl with each other. Just a few hours ago, Republicans under the leadership of Speaker Mike Johnson could not agree on a way to fund the government. And so they had to do what they always now have to do in this Congress, which is to rely on Democrats. With 209 Democratic votes and 127 Republican votes, the House managed to pass a resolution to fund the government for a few more months after weeks of infighting among Republicans. If you are a Republican right now, this is all completely embarrassing. The party ousted its last speaker for relying on Democratic votes to get something done, then held the government hostage while trying to figure out who could possibly lead the Republican conference, finally electing a hardliner who once again had to rely on Democratic votes to get the thing done. If that all wasn't just shameful enough for the GOP, the last Republican House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, is reportedly lashing out at the members who cost him that job in the first place. And when I say lashing out, I mean that literally. Today, NPR reporter Claudia Grisales was interviewing Republican Congressman Tim Burchett when the congressman claimed that former Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy intentionally elbowed him in the kidney. Here is the audio from that incident captured by NPR.
Why'd you elbow me in the back, Kevin?
I know, I felt so bad.
Hey, Kevin, you got any guts? Jerk.
Has he done that before?
No.
Huh. That's a new
I'm going to talk
move.
to him. Hey, Kevin, why'd you walk by me and elbow me in the back? You got no guts. You did so. They sat there and the reporter said it right there. What kind of chicken move is that? You're pathetic, man.
Kevin McCarthy later denied that he hit Congressman Burchett with yet another display of embarrassing machismo.
Show me a reporter who saw that. If I would hit somebody, they would know I hit him.
He said he knew he hit him. He said he was in pain that you hit him so hard in the kidneys.
Come on now.
Joining me now is NPR's congressional correspondent Claudia Grisales, who was the reporter talking to Congressman Burchett at the time of that incident. Claudia, first, just tell me from your perspective, what happened? Did you see Kevin McCarthy actually run up on the congressman as you were interviewing him?
Great to be with you, Alex. I was focused on Burchett. He was coming up this long hallway that is a distance from the meeting room where Republicans were just meeting, and he had just come over to my side of the hallway. We were speaking, so I was fully focused on him. He had maybe said one sentence to me before he lunged towards me. We were about 2 feet apart. I'd say he came like about a foot towards me, and it was just such a shock. I remember Burchett yelling out to McCarthy, initially joking, saying, "Hey, Kevin, didn't mean to elbow," and then he switched and said, "Why'd you elbow me in the back, Kevin?" And I start to look at that point. I realize that's McCarthy. That's his detail. They have walked by. And initially I had thought it was a joke, maybe a joking shove of some kind, a bump. But from what it looked like, from my perspective, McCarthy had shoved into Burchett. It appeared to be an elbow, as Burchett claimed.
You think about this incident that you captured both in audio and on social media, and we're now talking about it, with a quote from former Congressman Republican Adam Kinzinger, who in his book writes about, "Once I was standing in the aisle that runs from the floor to the back of the chamber. As McCarthy passed with his security man and some of his boys, McCarthy veered toward me, hit me with his shoulder, and then kept going." Is body checking fellow Republicans who run afoul of him like a thing for Speaker McCarthy? I know you're a congressional reporter, Claudia. How much is this something that he does? I mean, have you heard about this before?
Not before today. It has been a concern for me in terms of how high tensions have been running, especially within the House Republican Conference, especially since McCarthy was ousted. I have been worried about physical altercations between members. I wrote a piece last week about members and their public infighting. But I was worried it would build up to a moment. It was just very surreal that it happened to play out right in front of my eyes today. But in terms of McCarthy's history here, no, I was not familiar with it. I heard about Kinzinger's experience just today from his book, and it's quite shocking to hear that case and see what I saw today.
Can you talk a little bit more about the sort of tenor, the temperature actually inside the Republican conference? We're seeing, the explosions of anger in the Senate and the House. The front runner for the Republican nomination makes anger part of his brand. What is the net effect of all that in terms of the legislative body? How does it feel in Congress right now?
Yeah, I think we're seeing it play out. This is a perfect storm. It has been building all year. House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke to it earlier today before I had shared what I had seen, and he was talking about this pressure cooker in the House. It's something we've been wondering about, especially since October when McCarthy was Speaker. He'd canceled 2 weeks of recess, and the work, the struggles, the tensions, the fighting that we saw the House Republican Conference go through in October, it just exacerbated a lot of sore feelings that were there earlier in the year. They played out. Now Republicans were worried about death threats from fellow Republican constituents. And so it is very worrisome. In some ways, it is not surprising to see this play out now, but in others, it's very shocking.